I cannot believe I made this. Hello, buddy. Welcome back to the channel. My name's Adrian, and welcome to something new on this channel. You guys are probably looking at my screen and wondering either what am I looking at, but to summarize it all up in a single sentence, I have spent the past month learning Godot and essentially learning how to program and code all from zero experience. And in doing so, I have somehow, actually somehow created this thing where it is basically a task manager slash task tracker where if you complete tasks, let's say you want to run 25 miles today, I don't know why, complete your English 2.3 paper, or in my case, do daily run in Pokemon Go, then you can track it, and when you complete it, it gives you experience, it shows you how many things you've completed, and also there's a level up system. This is a very bare bones thing that I've made after, I'd want to say 1 to 2 weeks of trying out personal projects, and this is indeed my first personal project. But yeah, I'm super satisfied with this, and I have been having so much fun with this program and coding and whatnot that I thought, why not showcase my entire journey completely from zero, from scratch, and what I've learned in the first month of learning how to code. So I'm just gonna close this off real quick because the music's kind of bothering me. I also made that song in FL Studio. But yeah, real quick before this video starts, I want to emphasize and really do showcase that I did not have any experience a month ago, and I feel like this little mini series is going to be kind of interesting because of this channel I can kind of document everything that I've done and also go into the intricacies of what really helped and so on and so forth, and hopefully maybe one day you guys consider trying to go into Godot or game development in general. But yeah, if this is a series you guys want, this might be a one-off thing for me personally or something that I do maybe once a month, but let me know if you guys want a series of showcasing either my Godot journey and programming and coding, or if you guys just want to see the development of my app, because believe it or not, this thing right here is the beta build, and I've actually rebuilt it from the ground up to have way more features, and I'll showcase that in a little bit. But basically, long story short, the story was 1 month ago on about June 6th, I think. Oh wow, actually never mind, it was June 8th. Oh my goodness. On June 8th, I decided that I wanted to sit down and learn how to code, specifically how to make either a video game, because I feel like that would translate well into Terraria videos or Terraria mods, but also just pick up a new hobby. Summer just started. It was June 12th or June 8th, I believe. So before I show you my updated project, what I've done and whatnot, I want to showcase all the things that I was learning or trying to learn and things that I was watching and referencing, because like I said, I have zero programming knowledge at all. I didn't know the simplest program, printing hello world. I didn't know about that. I didn't know anything about booleans, floats, integers, all of that stuff. All I knew was that coding is hard, but Godot is a great first step into learning how to code by learning GDScript, which is a different language, a coding language, and Godot is an app designed to make video games using GDScript. You can also use other coding languages for it, but I'm not at that point. I'm 1 month in. But yeah, on June 8th, so 1 month ago, completely new. I had absolutely no idea what to do, no idea how to learn how to code, no idea how to code, no idea how to use the app, all of that type of stuff, completely fresh. So the first thing I did is obviously I went on YouTube and I watched this video right here called How to Make a Video Game by Brackies. And this video was very, very helpful. I did watch the entire 1 hour and 17 minutes and I really enjoyed the video. This is a fantastic video to start with, but the problem was once I got to the very end, you end up making this game right here. It's kind of a platformer 2D game. Brackies walks you through everything and how to do everything and whatnot. When I got to the very end, there was a concept that I did not know that existed called tutorial hell, where basically in coding in general, I believe, if you either watch too many tutorials on how to do very specific things, if you had to code alone, completely with no resources, you would not know how to code because you only know how to do specific things in very specific ways. So even though I made this game by coding everything completely, I literally had a one-to-one thing. I could jump, I had everything correctly. If you put me in a brand new Godot project, I would have no idea what to do. I would have no idea anything. Now initially I ended up making the mistake of, hey, maybe this video just isn't for me. How about I go ahead and try to search up some courses? So I ended up finding a couple of things. A lot of people recommended the Harvard CS50X 2025 course. This is a general computer science course. I ended up watching the first and I believe half of the first lesson, and this is a really good course. I plan on finishing it down the line, but to be honest, I kind of got bored halfway through. But apparently this course is supposed to teach you the fundamentals of how to think like a coder. The next thing I did was I found this thing by gdquest.github. This is basically an online website thing where you can kind of learn how to code and they teach you how to do it. Right, I'm on lesson 21. They went through a lot of this stuff, but I think around this lesson was when I got confused. So I decided to basically go all the way back to the beginning and maybe find another course. Now I want to clarify, there's 2 things that help me clarify how to learn how to code, specifically that GDScript is a coding language, programming, you're programming the game, and Godot, the app to make the game, is a whole different skill set. So when I was learning coding in general, I thought I was just learning how to code, but in reality, I was learning the programming language aspect, the coding aspect, but also I needed to learn how to use Godot as well. So like when I watched the Brackeys video, it was getting me familiarized with coding, but I still didn't know how to code. It was getting me familiarized with the Godot app, but I still didn't know how to use it. This GD quest thing was helping me more with like the programming aspect, like learning how GD script works, the logic behind it. So then I ended up finding the introduction to the Godot docs, the documentation. And real quick, I want to say, if you are trying to learn how to code for the very like completely beginner, 100% I recommend this. I think this, if I were to completely restart, I would tell myself this in the past, just read this and follow this step by step, because this is a fantastic foundation for not only just learning how to code. I believe like in coding in general, like just the documentation in general is super good, but this is fantastic for finding information that you don't know about. But I'll get into more of this later. I'm just gonna briefly overview all the resources I did. Now, after I did all of those four, my timeline was, okay, what if I did like a classroom style Godot course? And so I got recommended to go to Udemy. And the first Udemy course I did was this one by Firebelly. It's pretty cool too, because Firebelly has like his own YouTube channel, and I watched the videos. Like he's creating his own game and whatnot. He also like comments on like the Godot Reddit, so I thought it was really cool. So I took this course and I didn't finish it. I think I got about like 25% of the way through. I completely forgot. But I was doing this course, but then eventually it got to the point where I just did not understand anything he was doing. I didn't understand the programming. I didn't understand the logic. I was getting more familiar with how like Godot works, but it was still very confusing to me. So then I realized like, okay, like this Godot course is just way too complicated for me. I believe this is also like an intermediate course anyway. I understood what he was doing, but like if he told me to recreate it, I couldn't do it. And honestly, I believe at this point I did want to give up. I think after I did everything that I've mentioned, it was about 1 to 2 weeks in, and I was feeling unbelievably discouraged. So then I started my last course as like a Holy Mary, and this one really helped me the most. That is the course by Richard Albert. The Jumpstart to 2D Game Development Godot 4.4 Plus for Beginners was the course for me. Now, what's funny is I actually didn't even complete this course, but the idea of the course was that you would basically go with him through, I believe, recreating 4 or 5 popular games like Flappy Bird, Angry Birds, and he would also kind of showcase the app and like the coding. He just kind of explained everything, but also he had like mini challenges. Let's say you learned something, he would like be like, okay, so since we learned this, now try to do this, and then because of that, you got to like turn your brain on to use it. So I was going brain blast. This course personally helped me the most in learning the programming aspect and learning how to also find information I didn't know. Like let's say I wanted to use like a variable, or let's say I was confused about like what a string was, or like what a string can do. This course taught me like, hey, you can just search it up on the documentation and it shows you everything. And that's like a whole, I feel like, skill set in and of its own. And then that was when I realized, wow, I need a third skill. Not only do I have to learn how to program, how to learn how to use Godot, but also I need to learn how to code. I was under the impression like, hey, like I don't know what to do in Godot, let me just type it here on YouTube, right? Like boom. I thought that's how it was, but in reality, you shouldn't be doing that. You should be using the documentation, and if you want to add like a feature, you should look up very specific details on how to do it, and that way you could better absorb the information. And then on top of that, it would teach you how to use the tools of Godot rather than just getting to the final step. And that realization was the actual setting point. I realized that there's multiple ways to do one thing using all of the tools, and so because of that, if you just know how to use the tools, you could eventually branch off and just start doing things with the tools rather than looking at the result of what you want and what tool you need to use to get there. And because there's so many ways to do a specific thing with all the tools that you have, there's a basically like infinite amount of ways that you could do that one thing. And that's why the Godot documentation is great, because you can use the documentation to actually learn how to use the tools, and then those tools can be the pilot of how you actually end up executing whatever feature you want to do. Now, I know I said I started about a month ago, but what ended up happening is 2 weeks in, I was coding every single day. I was just doing the courses nonstop, going back and forth through videos, just kind of like coasting along and trying to absorb myself and get used to using Godot. Not necessarily on my own, but rather get used to doing what they're doing, but they're like showing me. So kind of just getting used to the program, even though I don't know how to use the program myself. And then eventually, I believe I got to this part of the course. I think we're developing like Angry Birds or something like that. So we started using like physics. I realized that I didn't want to make a game with physics. I wanted to make something else. So I decided, hey, I feel like I'm kind of well versed in knowing how to learn, not necessarily Godot in general, but I feel like I have the basics in knowing how to learn, like figuring out where I need to go to get new stuff, figuring out, okay, this is how Godot kind of works. I could probably just branch off from there. And also, if I wanted to start a brand new project, I could look up the specific features I want, which would in turn be more fun for me, because I kind of making something you don't want to make is it just wasn't sparking the dopamine right. So 2 weeks after doing coding every single day and trying to absorb as much as I can, I decided to stop. I also ended up moving out, so I took 1 week break. And then last week, which was my 4th week this month, so I spent about a month coding. 2 of the weeks I was actually coding every day, doing the courses, watching these videos. But then the 3rd week I took a break. I had to move all my stuff into my new place. And then 1 week ago, Godot, I decided, hey, I just watched this course. I realized that I feel like I'm not learning as much as I should or not applying the things that I've learned. So I decided to completely restart and just start my own project. And that indeed ended up being this beta build of my XP Builder app. But yeah, that was like mainly my whole journey to this point. But now I'm going to get into more of the specifics of why I made this app, how it looks, why I rebuilt the app into what it looks like now, which I'll show you later. And also, it's just, this is just so fun. So real quick, in Godot, as you can see, I have all of the projects. I have these ones are like random tests. This one was from the YouTube video I watched, and then these were like all from like the courses and whatnot. And then I was like, okay, well, we're doing a, I believe, Angry Birds game, like I mentioned before, from the course. I don't really vibe with it. I don't really, not only was I not understanding stuff at that point because it was too advanced, it was stuff that I wasn't really interested in yet. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and make my own game or my own idea of an app. And that's when I started working on the XP builder. So this right here is the 1 week ago build, which I just rendered and showed you guys. This is the 2 week, which is the one that I rebuilt, which I'll show you guys later. But real quick, I just want to go into the original XP builder and show you guys around. So real quick, this is what it looks like, right? The main things I wanted to add was an experience bar, a task completed number, a level number, and then if you like type in a task, you can click done and it would give you a specific amount of experience. I did everything in here with the exception of the character walking. I took a sprite sheet online, and I believe the shaders, which is like the CRT effect, I believe I also took online. Yeah, I just stole this from like a website. It was free or something. Everything else, I sprited the ground, obviously, the clouds. But yeah, this was my first ever project. I used all of the information that I've learned from the courses and tried to make this Frankenstein. Even if I wasn't doing everything correctly, I just wanted to have something that I could tangibly be like, okay, this is done. And you could definitely tell because the code is actually just so bad. Also, I added parallax to the clouds, so the clouds will like scroll. That was like another thing that I've learned. So like I had a bunch of these tools, like I've mentioned, like I've learned how to do these things. I just didn't know how to properly use them on my own yet because I didn't have a project that I could do it with. But yeah, real quick, I just want to also go over the code because the coding part was super insane for me. So the biggest thing that really helped me understand like coding in Godot was variables and signals. Once I understand how to use signals and how to emit them and how to use like a global auto script where you can store all your variables up in the cloud and like emit like all that type of stuff, that was when it started to click for me. Now the problem with this first coding thing is that all of the nodes and all of the code was all jumbled together, so it looks like a spider web. So like I'm pretty sure if I deleted like my experience, like this experience bar and all of the code that's in it, it would probably just crash the game because everything is like interdependent on each other. And I didn't like that. I wanted to be able to like change one thing at the bottom and it would change all of it, or it could like be a much more smoother experience. So that's why I rebuilt the game. But real quick, I'm just gonna go ahead and go into my task manager. So this is the first thing that I've coded, and I'm just gonna show this as an example because this is what like when it started to really click for me. So at this point, I had a basic understanding of how like nodes work. Basically, nodes kind of work top down, kind of like a tree. You could program stuff onto the node and then that would send things up, or you can display things, etc. The first thing that really helped me was when I added a script to the top. I didn't know that if you wanted to like reference the button or use the button, you would use control click and it would make it a variable in the main script, and then you can mention these variables down below to make it do stuff. So for example, what I ended up doing that I didn't know you could do until eventually like I watched the course and it started making sense, I put this task bar right here. Like default, this is what it looks like. It just looks like a task. You could put text in it and whatnot. But what I wanted to do is, let's say you complete a task. Let's say you can edit the task and then you click the button to click done. I wanted it to clear whatever was inside here. If you notice in the inspector, this text edit has a text like file property to it. So then what I did was you go into the main script, you take the task, you put control. So I already did that. It's like right here. But then you have the variable task. And because of that, I was able to take this, make a new function called on task finished, and just put task dot clear. And this would just clear every like the text inside of it. And then boom, I just had like this like thing working on its own. Like you could put stuff in here, click done, put stuff in here, click done. As soon as I got that working, the whole game just built itself, like literally just underneath that idea. Now the other idea I do want to make is the signal button. This was something that really helped me. The idea of signals. Basically, let's say you have a button, right? And if you press the button, you would want it to do something. Well, you can make it do something by connecting it to a signal. There's built-in signals into here. By the way, I have this loadout because I think Firebelly recommended it and I really do like it. So let's say I want something to happen when I click the press button. I decided to double click this, and what will happen is you could connect the signal to a function at the main script. So I already done that. I made it connect to my main script at the top. So then it would pop up as this right here, as a little signal function. So every single time you press the button, this thing, this whatever function you have here, this, you can name it whatever you want, but this function would trigger. Now, what I wanted to do was obviously I wanted to clear the task, and honestly, I could just write like task.clear, right? task.clear to just clear the task, right? But instead of doing that, I decided, hey, I want cleaner code, or I want to try that idea. So I decided to make a brand new function up here called on task finish. I pulled that name out of my ass. And in here, I decided, hey, I'll put the task clear in here. And then now whenever I click the button, it runs on task finish, which would run the task clear. But also these other things, I actually kind of forgot what I made global. Oh, these are signals for other stuff. But yeah, those are like two big ideas that really helped me catapult into changing things based off of like a specific input and script. It just helped me so much. Another thing that really helped me was making a global script. I didn't know what a global script was, but all I knew was that I did not know how to connect things from different like scenes or different instances. So like, let's say for example, at least for me, this is how it worked. Let's say like I complete a task, right? Like a button, like I click done. I wanted to complete a task, and then I want that task numbered like variable to go up, and I wanted to showcase in the task complete. The problem was my task complete was like a different scene, and my task button like completion was another scene. How do I get them to like work together? The way that I ended up working about it was I learned what a global was, which is basically a script that you can put up in the sky, and from there you could send the variable data or like the information up there, and then that can send it down here. So instead of them not knowing each other because there's neighbors, because God knows everyone, you could give it to God, and then God can give it to someone else. That's how it worked for me. But yeah, with all that basic like knowledge, like global script, as soon as I grasped how to use variables, how to make custom functions, how to run the functions as well, that's important, how to change the properties of the nodes using code, and how to actually use signals and connect them up to the main script and then all put them together, that was when this game actually just manifested itself. Very simple idea, you know, all this type of stuff. I'm super proud of it. This was me 3 weeks in learning Godot after like a 1 week break, my first personal project, and I basically made most of this, right? You know, the font I took online, the sprite sheet I took online, but the music, I also took the sound effect from online, very nice. But I learned how to do the experience bar on my own. I learned how to use global variables, and I was super proud of it. Now, as you know, though, I completely abandoned this project. Not completely abandoned, but I completely restarted my code because, as I mentioned, my code is like an absolute mess here. I mean, it looks so unorganized already here. And, you know, I was like, okay, well, I kind of now have a better understanding of how to do stuff. Also, a really big thing that you can do that was really helpful is if you click F1, you could search up all of the documentation stuff in the app. But yeah, I decided to completely rebuild this, and let me show you what that looks like. So I ended up kind of exporting it, export it a little bit weird, but the idea was I wanted to completely rebuild my code and do a bunch of different features. Like, I don't want it to just be you type in the task and you can only clear it. I wanted a complete delete, highlight window, etc. So I decided to completely overhaul it, and I made this. Music is way louder in this one, huh? So this is fundamentally the same thing, like the same function. You can put in tasks in here, except there is a complete task and an unpinned task. There's a level system, there's a task thing. I took off the CRT shader effect because I'm still editing it, but I've added a task manager window. And in here, you can multi-add tasks. So let's say I want to run, I want to walk the dog, I want to complete homework, and then I want to reach max level on battle pass. I can click enter, I can scroll down, see all the, okay, there's a bug right there, I gotta fix that. Let's just add some filler. I don't know, eat ice cream, eat bread, etc. You could scroll down. I need to fix the border of this. I think I clipped it on purpose, but you can see all of the tasks you want, and then there's multiple options. You can either complete them in here, which will give you experience to level up your character, or let's say you mistype something. I want to eat cheese. Oh no, I misspelled that. Let me scroll down and just delete it, right? You can delete tasks from here. That doesn't affect your experience bar, but mainly you can pin tasks. So I can pin 3 tasks and then go to the main scene, and they all pop up at the top. Now I realize there's another bug. I need to make it where it would either wrap or I could scroll the thing. The idea is you can now showcase tasks here that are highlighted, and then you could complete them here. They also give you experience, and when you complete them, it auto sorts it to the middle. So if I complete this one, auto sorts it to the middle. If let's say I don't want to do this task, I can unpin it and I can go to the task manager and it's still there. Also, you can pin stuff, and if you complete it, it also completes it in here. That was a whole feature that was a headache to do. One of the coolest things, though, that really was really hard to code that I really had to use a tutorial for is that you can close it out, but when you open it back up, it autosaves. I have added a autosave feature, which would autosave your file. By the way, it saves to your PC locally. It autosaves, I believe, every 10 seconds. So yeah, I literally can just use this like as I want, and I will use this because, you know, I'm building it. I'm having a lot of fun with it, and this is something I really like. A gamified way to give you experience for tasks to complete so that it incentivizes you to complete more tasks, get your homework done, but also you could kind of see a representation of yourself, you getting better at something, you upgrading. So it's not just a pit of you completing stuff, you learning stuff, I don't know, doing your homework, all that type of stuff. It doesn't feel like it's an empty void of nothingness. You have a visual like way of showing like, hey, you are indeed, you know, leveling up in life or whatever, you know, you're doing. Yeah, a whole bunch of like logical code went into this. For example, like I made it where you can't enter like empty stuff. It's not perfect. Like I can always just spam once and click complete to like spam up my experience. I made it where like if you were to type stuff, right, and you pin them, it can't pin like a duplicate task. And also, like I mentioned, like if you were to complete the middle one, it would like sort it into the middle and whatnot. That took a while to code. Coding the unpinning stuff took a while too. It was really tricky the way that I've coded this, but I'm super proud of it. I'm like unbelievably so proud that I was able to also do this. I think I did this in 3 days. I believe I did my first beta project 1 week ago, and then I finished it 3 days later, and then 3 days ago, I was like, hey, the code's a little bit complicated. I can't really add features to it. So I decided to completely overhaul the code, which I'll show in a minute. And I just made this. I finished it, I think, yesterday. That was when I finished the autosave feature. I was bug testing a lot. There's so many things that would go wrong whenever I saved. It would either save like the highlighted, but delete all the tasks. It would delete the tasks sometimes. It would like get the wrong experience level, whatnot, all that crap. But yeah, I'm gonna go into the code of this and show you guys, and you guys can roast me. You know, I need to get better. Yeah, feel free to like roast my code. Obviously, like I have no idea what I'm doing. It's even crazy that this even works. Yeah, immediately, as you can see, the code is much better. It's not perfect, obviously. Like I still have a bunch of things that are like a little bit messy, but the first thing I don't like about this project is that everything is in one singular scene. I don't know how to switch scenes at all. I don't understand how that works. So instead, what I decided to do is, because my game is just mainly UI, I just like toggle the visibility off of everything so that like if you are in, let's say, the adventure scene or the main character like walking around scene, everything else is just turned off so you can't see it. So that's a little thing that I got. Yeah, like literally open up the main, so much more cleaner. I was able to get like variables in. This, I don't know what this is doing here. My ready function, I have, as you can see right here, a lot of global stuff. I did all of this from literally like most of this stuff that I did not know how to do. Like for example, I took the scene, which was a variable, like I dragged it in, I turned it, I put it in the script, and then I did dot visible. I didn't know I could do that until like 2 days ago. I learned how to do it because of the documentation. I searched up that you can do dot visible, which accesses the scene. What is it? Main task scene. I believe it's all the way down here, dot visible, and then you can just set it to false, like a Boolean. Another thing that I didn't know, equals is different than equals. If you did like x equals 5, that's the idea of now x, the value of x is equal to 5. Whereas if you did like x equals 5, it's more so saying is x equal to 5, like is the value of x equal to 5, like a comparison amount, if that makes any sense. That's how my brain works. Yeah, long story short, my main script is basically just me like saying like, okay, like this is like all visible, what's not visible. If this is already visible, then don't do, you know, don't make everything else, you know, visible, etc. This is my save script that I took from like a YouTube video. I forgot what YouTube video I did, but goated, absolutely goated. This was a really hard thing for me to do. It was completely foreign, but I'm glad that I did it. Now, the last thing I do want to show was the moment in my code where I had no help, if that makes any sense. So basically the problem that I was actually having with my code is because whenever you play the game, whenever you run the program, and let's say you make a task, this is instantiating and creating a brand new task scene. The problem was though, I didn't know how to change the property of an instantiated like scene without the scene already being there. Like for example, right? The idea was, let me just pop up all of my scenes in here. Oh, it's a little messy. The idea was I created a default task thing. So with this, like if I decided to make a new task, it would just take this and then change the properties of it, right? But then this task thing, if you were to generate it, it would go all into something called the task manager, which is this thing right here. And whenever my script runs for this, as you can see, let me actually like go in here. Let me see if it, oops. So this part right here, if I were to just click like enter, it would make the new scene. Okay, it's not working because I need the other code. But the idea was all of the tasks that are going to be made would be held by this task manager scene. So as you can see, like if I were to instantiate a new new scene, this is what it would look like. It would just go all the way down, and you saw this earlier just without like the UI elements. The problem was I didn't know how to change the text of each instantiated task because I didn't even think you could change the properties of something that hasn't been loaded yet. So instead what I did was I decided to, hey, what if every single time I click the enter bar, like when I add the task, it just copies the task as a string. I'll then send the string up into a global, and then the global will just copy it down to the task, and then it would just fill it out. So that's what I did. So it was working temporarily, but every single time I saved it, it would not work because I was setting the task text to be my global. When every single time it would load a save, it would then reuse that. So then it just wouldn't work, long story short. So then I had to figure out, is there a way to change this into like a .text file? Is it even possible? So I decided to like scour the documentation like I said, and I ended up finding out that you could actually quite literally just do this. So this is what my code is, right? Every single time I click enter, and you could see the global task scene. If there is text in the text adder box, it would make a brand new task. It would then make the task a child of the task like holder. But then what I did that I did not know you could do is you could get the node of that child and then just do .text. So the first thing that I learned into my first week of making my project, I applied it, and then I could just set it to the text of the task manager, and then I would just clear it, and boom, it just worked. And then because of that, now in my actual just regular task, this is the code for my regular task, I could just save it to like a text, and then the text is what will be recalled if I were to load it from like a save file. So that's how it worked. Obviously there's better ways of doing this in code. I 10,000% can see that. Like look at my global stuff. Look, there's so much global connecting. There's I mean, just look at I think a really great example of my bad code would be I believe my highlighting scene. So this is the thing that like it manages all of like what text goes in front if there's any text in there, if that makes any sense. I wanted to, like I said, make it where I want the text to always be in the middle. And the way that I was doing it was I was setting whatever task I would pin to be a global variable to then showcase here. I don't think that was the best idea, because then every single time I updated the text, this is the code that I made. It's a very if then type of thing, and I don't think I want to keep like coding like this. It just feels rather too inefficient. And also, if I wanted to do like a fourth highlighting pinning section, I would have to introduce another global variable and then change all of these. I think it's just too much. I think it would be better if I just made like a function for it, but that was the idea. Also, another good example of my bad code, like as you can see, like literally right here, like I made a separate button that does the same thing, like clearing or unpinning, and I made it for all the two separate instances because I have the way that I set up my code. This is just how it works. Overall, I'm super satisfied about it. I'm glad I rebuilt my code. I personally, for me, it's much more cleaner, much more better for me to visualize. I love like what I did. It genuinely makes me so happy that I was able to make this from 1 month ago of just not learning how to do anything into just this. I think I'm just gonna code like quite literally just after this. I want to add another feature. I want to add a pet feature. I feel like that'd be really cool. But yeah, long story short, I ended up making my experience habit tracker where you can track your tasks, the things that you have to do, but also represent it with an experience bar and showcase how much you not only the amount of tasks you're completing, but also how much you're leveling up as a person. I'm gonna add more stuff like that to you later. But yeah, that's all I really wanted to share. I'm super excited to keep learning Godot. This is just what I'm doing like at the same time of playing Pokemon Go and playing Terraria. But yeah, if you guys are interested in seeing like a full series of this, maybe like once a month. But yeah, this is my full zero experience. The only experience I had was I took calculus, so I knew what functions were and I knew what integers were, but you know, it's different in code. But that was the only thing that really helped me, my calculus. I took calculus. No coding knowledge, no Python knowledge. I learned everything as much as I could, as fast as I could, and it was fun. But yeah, let me know what features you guys want or think would be really cool. I'm open to a bunch of ideas. You know, like at the end of the day, this isn't gonna be like a master project down the line. This is just something that I find unbelievably fun and something that genuinely I will be using as this gets better, because this is something I've always wanted, a gamified experience for tracking your habits and tracking your work. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you guys want to see more videos like this, then let me know down in the comments. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. It's been Adrian, folks. Okay, so actually real quick, I lied. I ended up coding a lot more that day. Actually, I think it was 2 days ago when I recorded that, but added a couple more features, which I think are really, really cool. And I want to showcase in this video before like I completely change the project. But as you can see, number one, I've learned how to sprite. I've added these two sprites in the game. The crab one's not that good, but I'm really proud of the slime one. I literally learned a sprite last night to be able to do this. I also overhauled the icon system. Instead of having like complete task, pin task, I've replaced them with like a check mark and a pin icon. This this had to go through like multiple instances. As you can see, if I actually open up a scene right here, this is the new thing I made, and this was the old one. That it looks absolutely horrible. This was also my old slime that I made before I learned a sprite, and then here is my new slime spreadsheet that I learned how to make like a animation spreadsheet, and then you could like animate it and do stuff like that. So yeah, I basically learned how to use a sprite last night, so I was able to just do this, and I think it makes the game feel so much better. I also redid the clouds. I actually, instead of just drawing random clouds, I actually just sprited these clouds and then added a better parallax layer on top. But yeah, real quick, another thing I've added is I've added the Pomodoro timer for like the Pomodoro studying technique, where you work for 25 minutes and then you take a break for 5 minutes. As you can see, press it, countdown appears. My slime is right here, all animated. It's so cute. You can go into task manager, and now there's actually like the sound effects for it. So like if I were to like type something, there's a sound effect for it. If I click enter, there's a sound effect. You could do a bunch of sound effects. There's a sound effect for completing, there's a sound effect for pinning, and there's a sound effect for deleting. So yeah, one of my favorite features though is like when you type, it makes like a sound, and when you delete, it makes a different sound. But yeah, I did this all in like an extra day. I think it'd be worth showing off because I think the overhauled like UI and the sprite changes are super nice. They're super like small changes, but I think it makes it feel more like a game. You know, this isn't really a game. This is more of like a personal help, self-help, you know, habit tracker, all that type of stuff. But I'm really happy with how the sprites came out, especially the slime. I did not know how to sprite this, but I'm glad it turned out as good as it did, and it actually looks like it's somewhat animated. And I'm really happy with the UI changes. I think it makes it look so much cleaner, and it actually makes it feel more pixely. Yeah, I'm probably gonna put a pause on this project for a little bit because it's been eating a lot of my time. I'm super proud of it though. I think this would make it more of like a 5-month journey. But yeah, if you guys have nothing to do this summer, pick up Godot, make a game. This isn't a game, but you get the idea. Just wanted to show this real quick. I think it's really cool. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and it's been Adrian.